what's scarier than a ghost story? A true one. Not the kind where someone heard a noise or felt a weird vibe. I mean the kind where a normal person, someone just like you, checks into a hotel, turns off the light, and wakes up realizing they are, absolutely without a doubt, not alone. This happened in Vienna, Austria, October 2019, a hotel that's been standing since 1918, and a room, number 317, that the staff never talks about. Every single person who spent a night alone in that room either woke up remembering nothing or refused to ever speak about it again. Every single one. Except for a guy named Daniel Brunner. And what Daniel saw that night? It's going to make you think twice before you turn off your lights tonight. I promise you that. Daniel Brunner was a freelance photographer based out of Munich, Germany. 32 years old, decent career, nothing extraordinary about his life. He'd been hired by a travel magazine to shoot a feature on old European architecture, cathedrals, cobblestone streets, Habsburg-era buildings, the kind of stuff that looks gorgeous in print. He had 3 days in Vienna and a budget tight enough to make him wince. He found Hotel Astor on an old travel blog. Barely any reviews, but the ones that existed were fine. Generic stuff, clean enough, central location, staff was quiet. The price was what got his attention, 45 euros a night, in the middle of Vienna, steps from the Ringstrasse. He called his buddy Marcus back in Munich. 45 euros, Marcus said. In Vienna? Daniel, that's not a deal, that's a warning. Tourist season ended, October discounts. Or the place is haunted and nobody stays there. Daniel laughed. Booked it anyway. Hotel Astor looked exactly like what it was. A building that had been standing for over a century and wasn't particularly interested in impressing anyone. Gray stone facade, tall windows with wavy old glass that distorted the street outside. A front entrance lit by a single overhead lamp that flickered every few seconds, like it was trying to decide whether to give up entirely. Daniel walked in around 8:30 at night. His train from Munich had been delayed. Behind the reception desk sat an elderly woman, white hair pulled tight, deep lines carved into her face, thick framed glasses perched on her nose. Her name tag read, Frau Hauser. Guten Abend, Daniel said. I have a reservation, Brunner. She opened a ledger, and an actual handwritten ledger, not a computer inkletzt, and ran her finger down the page. She stopped. 3 nights? Yes. She wrote something down, then reached beneath the desk and pulled out a key. Not a key card. An actual metal key, old and heavy with a red plastic tag attached to it. The tag read, 317. 3rd floor, she said flatly. The elevator is locked at night. You'll need to use the stairs. That's fine. She didn't respond. She just looked at him. Just for a moment, just long enough, through those thick lenses. Daniel didn't understand that look at the time. Later he would. It was a warning. The room was small. Single bed, wooden wardrobe, a narrow bathroom, a window that looked out onto the brick wall of the building next door. Someone had spray painted something on that wall in red, but the light was too dim to make it out. Daniel dropped his bag, washed his face, texted Marcus. Made it. Hotel's a little old, but it's fine. Marcus replied. Don't let the ghosts get you, LOL. Daniel smiled, set his phone face down on the nightstand, and closed his eyes. Sleep came fast. But at exactly 2 o'clock in the morning, his eyes snapped open. No nightmare? No noise he could identify? just suddenly, completely awake. The way you get when something inside you decides you've been unconscious long enough. The room was dark. A thin band of orange streetlight pressed in through the gap between the curtains. Daniel lay still and stared at the ceiling. Then he heard it. Breathing. Not his own. Someone else's. Slow, deep, rhythmic. Like someone sleeping. But he was the only person in this room. It's the pipes, he told himself. Old building. The train ride messed with my head, but it didn't stop. He sat up, grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. Swept it around the room. The corners, the wardrobe, the space under the bed. Nothing. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. He didn't remember leaving it open. He got out of bed slowly, crossed the room, and pushed the bathroom door all the way open with one finger. Empty. Except for the mirror. In the mirror behind his own reflection. Another face. Grayish. Flat. Where the eyes should have been, just two dark hollows. No expression. No movement. Just watching. Daniel screamed. The next few seconds existed somewhere between instinct and blackout. He remembered running for the door, grabbing the handle, locked, dead-bolted from the inside, which made no sense because he hadn't locked it. He spun around. The bathroom door was now closed. But under the door, in that narrow inch of gap between the door and the floor, he could see 2 feet. Someone was standing in there. Daniel pressed his back against the wall and didn't move. 5 minutes passed. 10. The feet didn't move either. At the 15-minute mark, Daniel made a decision. He crossed the room, grabbed the handle, and shoved the door open. Empty. But on the tile floor, one wet footprint. The bathroom was bone dry. He hadn't showered. He hadn't used the sink. One wet footprint facing the door. Daniel didn't think after that. He grabbed his room key, unlocked the deadbolt, and stepped out into the hallway. The corridor was long and narrow. Doors on both sides, all closed. A single yellow bulb overhead. The kind of light that makes everything look slightly wrong. Daniel started walking toward the stairwell. He stopped. At the far end of the hallway, right in front of the stairs, a girl was standing. Young, maybe 10, maybe 12. White nightgown. Head down. "Hey," Daniel said. "Hey, are you okay?" She didn't move. "Excuse me, do you need help?" Slowly, the girl raised her head. She had no face, not disfigured, not shadowed, just nothing. Smooth skin where a face should have been, like someone had taken an eraser to it. That's the last thing Daniel remembered before waking up at the bottom of the stairwell at dawn. He went straight to the front desk. Frau Hauser was still there. Same chair, same posture, like she hadn't moved in 8 hours. "There's something in my room," Daniel said. His voice came out smaller than he intended. She didn't look up. "Frau Hauser." "I said, I heard you." Her voice was calm, almost tired. Daniel stared at her. "You knew?" "Everyone knows." She finally looked up. "No one stays alone on the 3rd floor. I couldn't give you another room. They were all occupied." "What is it? What's up there?" She was quiet for a moment, then, "This building was a hospital after the First World War, 1918. The 3rd floor was for soldiers with shell shock, what they call PTSD now. Men who came back from the trenches and couldn't function anymore. And room 317? A doctor worked out of that room. Dr. Klaus Winter. He believed that trauma could be cured by forcing the mind to confront fear directly." She paused. "His patients didn't improve." "They died?" "7 of them. Between 1918 and 1923, official cause of death each time, cardiac arrest. Daniel swallowed. But unofficially? One of the nurses kept a diary. It's in the Vienna City Archive if you want to read it yourself. Frau Hauser folded her hands on the desk. She wrote that Dr. Winter used to say, "Fear binds people. As long as the fear exists, the person exists within it." She believed he wasn't just treating patients. She believed he was trapping them. The room felt colder. And Dr. Winter himself died in 1923. Frau Hauser's expression didn't change. Room 317, cardiac arrest. Daniel should have left that morning. He didn't. His camera was still upstairs, and something, stubbornness, journalistic instinct, or maybe just the particular kind of stupidity that makes people walk toward strange sounds instead of away from them, made him go back up. In daylight, room 317 looked completely normal. Bed, wardrobe, bathroom, window. He checked every corner. Nothing. He picked up his camera and started shooting. The room, the walls, the bathroom, the view from the window. Documentation. Evidence that it was just a room. Then he scrolled through the photos on the camera's screen. First 3. Normal. Fourth photo. In the corner of the room, half swallowed by the shadow of the wardrobe, there was a shape. Standing. Head down. Daniel looked up from the camera. The corner was empty. He looked back at the screen. Fifth photo. The shape was closer. Sixth. Closer still. Seventh. The shape was gone. But Daniel was in this one, photographed from behind. And standing directly behind him, looking over his shoulder, was the faceless girl from the hallway. He spun around. Nothing. He looked back at the camera. There was an 8th photo. He hadn't taken an 8th photo. In it, the room was empty, except for the bed where someone was lying down. Daniel's jacket. Daniel's shoes on the floor. But the person's face was buried in the pillow, turned away, and standing around the bed in a loose circle, heads bowed, 5 figures, like they were waiting. Daniel caught the last evening train back to Munich. At the station, he tried to delete the 8th photo. It wouldn't delete. He tried again. Nothing. He formatted the entire memory card. When the process finished, the camera showed one file remaining, the 8th photo. Back in Munich, he went straight to Marcus's apartment and told him everything. Marcus listened without laughing, which said more than anything he could have said out loud. That night, in Marcus's guest room, Daniel locked the door. Marcus told him to, and tried to sleep. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he woke up to the sound of breathing that wasn't his. He opened his eyes. Dark room. The gap under the door glowed with the hallway light from outside. In that strip of light, 2 feet, standing right outside the door. Then, knock, knock, knock. Then silence. Then, from the other side, the sound of something that almost sounded like it was trying to get in. Daniel Brunner told this story on a German podcast called Dunkle Nächte, Dark Nights, in early 2020. At the end of the episode, the host asked, "Did you open the door?" Daniel paused for a long time. "No," he said. "But here's the thing. In the morning I asked Marcus if he'd been in the hallway at any point during the night. What did he say? He said he never left his bedroom. So whose feet were those?" Another pause. "I don't know. But I'll tell you what I do know. Every single night since that trip, I wake up at exactly 3 a.m. No alarm, no nightmare. I just open my eyes. And every time it takes me a few seconds to convince myself that I'm alone. Fear binds people. As long as the fear exists, the person exists within it. Dr. Winter said that over 100 years ago in a small room in Vienna. And I want you to think about something. You just spent the last 20 minutes listening to this story. You let it in. The breathing, the mirror, the footprints, the faceless girl standing at the end of that hallway. So tonight, when you wake up at 3 a.m., and you might, and the room feels a little too quiet, and you get that feeling that the darkness just shifted slightly to your left. That's probably nothing. Probably. Sleep well. And hey, lock your door tonight. Hotel Astor and Dr. Klaus Winter are fictional, set against the real historical backdrop of post-WW Vienna.